Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the first show of Marketing Behind Closed Doors. And I'm so excited to bring my good friend Greig Wells on today. Greig is a LinkedIn expert. He's worked with Tony Robbins. He's worked at his events. He's worked with over 4,200 clients on LinkedIn and counting. And also him and I are working together as well on some LinkedIn projects. I'm really excited to bring him on and teach you guys how you can get 1 to 2 clients a week from LinkedIn by just having the right messaging in place and the right processes in place to be able to achieve this. Without further ado, Greig, how are you doing? Can you hear me?
Hi, yeah, loud and clear. Glad to be here, Jimena.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for making the time to be here. I know you're super busy, but let's have some fun today and let's teach the audience some great things so they can have success on LinkedIn as well, as much as both of us have. So tell me a little bit about what made you start, like what was the pathway into getting into LinkedIn and getting into entrepreneurship? I know you have a very unique story.
Yeah, so I've been running my marketing agency that specializes in LinkedIn for 9 years now. But for 12 years before that, I was a headhunter, so a recruiter who helped people find jobs. And that's how I got into LinkedIn, was back in my recruiting days, using LinkedIn as a recruitment tool before things like social media or Facebook even existed. And so my mindset kind of comes from different than most marketing people that have jumped into LinkedIn more recently. And it comes from more of the hunt and find and recruiter background. I think that's a big part of what made me successful.
Oh, right on. Awesome. So, what would you say when your clients come to you and you look at the stuff they're doing? Because some people, they're already doing LinkedIn, some people are not. Everybody's in a different place. What would you say are like the top 3 like biggest mistakes that you see people doing?
Top 3 biggest mistakes. Okay.
I know there's so many, but just try to pick 3.
Yeah. Well, let's start with number 1. It's over pitching your services. The metaphor that I like to use is, I'm single right now. And if I walked into a bar and there was a single girl there who was looking for a husband, and even though I'm like the perfect person for her, if I walk up to her and ask her for her phone number, there's no way she's going to give me her phone number, right? I haven't asked her name yet. I haven't made any conversation. There's just an etiquette to it all. And it's the same thing on LinkedIn. Most often people feel like, they'll connect and then they'll immediately start to pitch what they do. So that I would say is a huge mistake that people make on LinkedIn. By far, number 1. You asked for 3, which is a long, loaded question. But to go on to what I would say is the second biggest mistake is people think of LinkedIn as like Facebook for business. And on Facebook, most people really only connect with people they actually know. You're seeing all their personal information. And that's not how LinkedIn operates at all. The metaphor I like to use in helping my clients understand LinkedIn is it's like the modern day phone book. It's like a directory of every business on LinkedIn. Now, in the phone book days, anyone in business knows the bigger your ad, the more people that saw your ad, the more successful you're going to be. And the way to have more people see you on LinkedIn is through building your connections. Because when a user searches on LinkedIn, they don't get to search through the whole database. It's not like Google, where if I search for something, I search for, I get to search all of the internet. LinkedIn, you only search your network and 3 levels deep of your network. So you want to have a bigger, deeper network that gives you more exposure. More people are able to find you, more people that you're able to find. Limiting your network like you do in Facebook or in other social media to just people you know is really another big mistake that people make.
Yeah, because if you're connected to more people, then when you're searching for people, then you get more results too. Because the bigger your network, the more up to the 3rd degree that you can see, right? So that's why, remember back in the day, I don't know if this is still a big thing. I haven't dealt with it too much anymore, but back in the day it was like a big thing to be a lion. I mean, some people still have that on their profiles, right? What does that even stand for? I forgot already.
Lion is so LI in the Lion is LinkedIn, and then ON standard for Open Networker.
Open Networker.
So
Right.
LinkedIn Open Networker, and LinkedIn actually has its own, paid premium. It's part of the premium feature. You can choose to be an Open Networker, so that kind of put it out of business. But if I get a client who's just starting out on LinkedIn and wants to build their network, that's one of the things I'll have them do, we'll either do for them or tell them to do, is to search for people in your niche that are Lions, because that means they're Open Networker. That means that they'll connect with anyone. So there still can be some value in that phrase, but it's less and less pertinent these days.
Yeah, not a lot of people talk about it, but if you do connect with a few people, that they reach out to you that have large networks, then obviously that's going to be beneficial, because you're going to get more results if you're trying to do some lead gen. And also, I just want to let everyone know, if you have any questions, type them in the chat. If you're watching this on social media, you can go to marketingbehindcloseddoors.com/live. And then if you join us there, you guys can ask us questions in real time. If you have any questions for Greg, then that would be the place where you want to go and get those in as well. Greg, why do you think LinkedIn is so effective for generating really high value leads versus, let's say, other social networks? I saw a stat, and this was a while ago, that LinkedIn generates more B2B for businesses, more B2B leads than like Facebook and Twitter and all that other stuff combined. So can you talk a little bit to that point?
Yeah, so what makes LinkedIn so valuable as leads for B2B is the people that are on LinkedIn. Every decision maker in business needs to be on LinkedIn. If you're dealing with people that are in jobs and corporate, they need to be on there for their career, because that's where recruiters are going to find them. And if they're on there for their career, that gives you access to all these people. They need to be on there if they own a business, because they want to get new customers, new clients coming to them. So everyone needs to be at this party that's LinkedIn, and that's what makes it so valuable to be. You want to be where your people are, where your prospects are, where your customers are. And if you're in B2B, business to business, LinkedIn is the place for that. The other part to LinkedIn that makes it so powerful, we kind of touched on how they have this 3 degrees of separation that extends your network exponentially. No other social media site has that capability, because LinkedIn's founder, Reid Hoffman, he actually owns the patent on the 7 degrees of separation. It's the Kevin Bacon concept. It's a patent that he owns. So if you think about, for example, on Facebook, you can see your friends' friends. I can go to Jimenez's profile and I can see what friends we have in common, or maybe even see all of her friends if she lets me, but I can't see their friends, and I can't send my content out to their friends, let alone the third level, right? And that's because LinkedIn has a patent that prohibits Facebook from doing that. In fact, when Facebook wanted to show friends of friends, that was an infringement on the patent, and Reid negotiated to get 3% ownership of Facebook. So often people think of Facebook as competitors, but that's how Reid landed his 3% ownership of Facebook. And in terms of stock value, his 3% ownership of Facebook is actually worth more than his 51% ownership of LinkedIn that he sold. So Reid wants to see Facebook win, if anything, but he really wants to see them both win. And they will both win. They complement each other really well.
Wow, that's crazy. He's a beast, that guy.
I really believe that Microsoft's acquisition about LinkedIn was as much about Reid Hoffman. They wanted this guy on their board of directors, and he is now. They wanted his insights. They wanted his connections. Apple is always one in Silicon Valley, and that's Reid's world. And so Microsoft saw buying LinkedIn as much about buying Reid Hoffman, and it was a brilliant acquisition by Microsoft. Their biggest ever, by the way.
Oh, wow, that's crazy. Do you remember how much it was for?
Oh, it was something in the billions and billions of dollars. Which is funny, because for a long time, LinkedIn didn't ever make any money. I remember I was at an event at LinkedIn and actually met Reid Hoffman. And there were a few of us there that were teaching LinkedIn and making good 7 figures with LinkedIn back then for our clients. And Reid kind of pulled us all together and was like, I got a beef with all you guys. And I'm like, what? We love you. We're like evangelists for LinkedIn. And he's like, no. And he kind of cracked a smile and was like, you guys are making million as a year on this, and we haven't made a penny yet.
Oh
And
my
that kind of really annoys me. Well, sure enough, they went public, and Reed made his money, and so did everyone who saw the future in LinkedIn. But LinkedIn is a good, safe bet for the long term because of those patents we were just talking about. That's why it's a sustainable place to build your business. You have to worry with things like Facebook. Are they going to push everything to paid advertising? A lot of the organic reach is there. What's going to happen when the generation that's on Instagram grows up, right? That Facebook isn't going to be what it is now. LinkedIn's not going to have any of that because they'll never be able to have a competitor that can do what they do because they've got it locked down with patents.
Wow, that's really great. And also to the point about LinkedIn monetizing, I remember when we first started out, networking on there and generating leads, I could do everything pretty much for free. And that's probably why Reed was complaining that they hadn't made any money, because I could connect with people, I could message them. I remember way back when, this had to be, God, I don't know, 5 years ago or something crazy. You could just go into LinkedIn groups and groups were great because obviously these people are saying, I'm in this group because I'm interested in this topic. So if you wanted people that were interested in investing or in marketing or, in real estate, you can just go into those groups and message those people. And I remember we used to do like 500 messages a day, and we would get so many leads from it that they obviously put a stop to that. And now if you want to get search results past a certain amount, or you want to really do any real activity on LinkedIn, you have to sign up for their premium plans, right?
Yeah, LinkedIn's taken away a lot of the features that used to make it, used to be part of its success, and they've made that part of the paid features now. And so the features are all still there. You just have to pay. It's $89 a month, for Sales Navigator, which is well worth it. You always get more features, more power when you pay for premium services.
Right, exactly. So we're going to get to the part about the messaging in a little bit. But before we do that, because messaging is really not where you start when you do a LinkedIn campaign. You have to do, there's a lot of things that you have to do, like pick your audience, write your profile copy, you have to put a whole strategy in place in order to do a LinkedIn campaign and do it effectively. And then you also have to be really organized with your follow-up, with your leads, with how you do things. So Greg, can you talk a little bit about that process, what it looks like from beginning to end, what you have to prepare before you start messaging people and researching people on LinkedIn?
Yeah, there's a lot that goes into that. I'll give you kind of the short version and like a checklist. So number one is you need to decide who you're going to target. Targeting by job title is what works best on LinkedIn, but there might be different titles for different types of companies. Targeting by industry also works really well. One of the secret sauces to the targeting I use is in Sales Navigator, going with a size of company. I like companies that are between 10 and 50 employees. On average, I find that there's $100,000 in gross revenue per employee. So a 10-person company means they have $1 million in gross revenue, which means that they should have no problem investing $25,000 or $50,000. That's typically the type of clients that I work with and have huge success with on LinkedIn. So there's your targeting, then there's your profile. A lot goes into this, but at the high level, you want to think like the other person would think. What kind of person would they want to be connected with? For example, if I lead with in my profile that I do LinkedIn lead generation, which is a big part of what I do, that's the only thing I say. People might think, rightfully so, well, I'm going to connect with Greg and he's going to start trying to sell me leads. Which we do, but in order to get them to connect with me, I think from their point of view, they want to connect with decision makers. Well, that's who's in my network. So that's what I talk about. Yeah, I'm a speaker and a best-selling author, and B2B decision makers are in my network. So when you connect with me, you get access to that network. So that's a big part of setting things up too. So the targeting and then getting your profile ready so that people accept those invitations are the two first most important steps.
Yeah, targeting can really make or break a campaign is what I found. And a lot of times, you'll get a client and they're not really sure who their targeting is. So I love to work with companies that, their target audience is one specific person because maybe they sell a tool to electricians, or they sell like a device to a certain kind of doctor, or they manufacture a thing that a certain kind of person will buy, those are great, because then you don't have to figure out the targeting. But when you have to figure out the targeting, you really have to think about, what does my perfect customer avatar look like with the filters that I can work with here. A lot of people also try to go by revenue. That's not a filter that LinkedIn has, and that's why it's so important to use that company headcount, kind of look at, where your clients are, or where are the people that you want to work with, and how big of a company usually are they, how many employees do they have.
Yeah, the example you gave is really rare, right? Where they're selling a tool to electricians. It'd be nice if everybody's business lined up like that. But most of the people that come to me, they are like, well, this will work for anybody, or this will work for any small business owner, or any entrepreneur, or any, sales executive. And so that's way too broad, right? So first of all, you have to chunk it down and start somewhere on LinkedIn. You can't message all entrepreneurs all at once. There's millions of them on LinkedIn. So we're going to have to start somewhere. Let's start somewhere strategically. So my process is typically to look at where you've had your biggest wins. Yeah. So I'll ask a client, tell me your best customer. What business were they in? And they'll say something like, oh, well, it was a salon owner, maybe, right? And you might think salon owners are not B2B, but they're still on LinkedIn. They're there recruiting. They're there, wanting to grow their business. And so that's a niche that we've had great success with for this particular coach. He works with all kinds of entrepreneurs, but we built his marketing around a specific audience. And there are two things happen when you do this. Number one is he has a case study in his pocket. So he has proof that he's helped other salon owners grow their revenue and lower their attrition. And so it helps them close the deal in the end. But the other thing is what I call congruency marketing. So when his message comes in and says, hey, I specialize in helping salon owners grow their business through marketing, that's a very different message than everyone else on LinkedIn who's saying, hey, I can help your business grow. And, who am I going to choose? The guy that specializes in my world, or the guy that does this for everybody? The specialist is always wins. So it's a great way to eliminate your competition by specializing your messaging. And, we'll work salon owners for this month and exhaust all of the possible ones on LinkedIn. And then we'll move on to the next niche for them the next month.
Yeah. So, okay. So you figured out your target audience. You've got everything figured out. So now what's the next step after that?
Okay. So the next step is to begin building your connections in your target audience, right? So you're going to send them an invitation asking them to connect with you. And what you say in that invitation is really important. You want to personalize the invitation. You want to put the person's first name in there. There is software you can use to automate sending the invitations, but I don't recommend it on a shoestring. For what you would say, you are risking putting your LinkedIn account in jeopardy, because any software is technically against the terms of service. And you get a lower connection rate too when you use those software. So you want to send these invitations one by one, and 100 is a good safe amount to be sending. And you want to be tracking, hey, what did I say? You want to let it run for about 2 weeks and track one message. What did you say? Make the message short, conversational, short and sweet. Hey, what's up? I just thought we'd be a good connection. Maybe something else, a good connection because you're a salon owner and that's who I help. And then track it, right? After every 2 weeks, you want to be tracking your messaging and testing. If message one did better than message two, then you tweak message one and come up with a message three, and you track for the next 3 weeks. So constantly testing your messages and tracking your results from your messages is another part of our secret sauce. And it really pays off. It really allows you to iterate. A lot of times people will send out one set of messages and you get some results. So you're excited and you just keep sending the same message, but you're leaving a lot of money on the table by not continuing to iterate and make your messages as good as possible.
Yeah, exactly. It's all about testing. Even if you do kind of, hit it, great out of the gates, you definitely want to see, well, hell, can it be better? I mean, that was just the first shot, So I would definitely agree. You want to change your messaging every maybe 2-3 weeks, and then from there, test a few different ones, and then just pick the best one and then run with that. I mean, that's usually what we do. We'll run with it after about 3 months. It's like, okay, these ones are the best. This looks to be kind of our numbers, and that's what we go with. I would also say there's a lot of numbers that you also want to look at when you do this. That's why if you're going to do this yourself, it's going to probably take you 2 to 3 hours a day to really do this effectively. So you definitely want to make sure that you have someone doing a lot of this part for you, because a lot of it too is just kind of admin type of data entry work, like requesting target audience. That can be time consuming. To send out 100 requests, you're looking at, I don't know, maybe an hour, hour and a half. And then everyone that accepts, you want to be messaging them, and then you want to be tracking, well, how many people are accepting? If your acceptance rate is less than 20%, you need to make some changes on your profile, because 20% is kind of like the middle ground, right?
Yeah, when you're doing cold messaging, sometimes I hear from people, oh, I get 40 or 50% acceptance rate. I'm like, yeah, because you're only sending connections to people you just met in real life. Like, that's not what we're talking about here. That's an apples to oranges comparison. But I love what you were saying about do it yourself. I get that question a lot. And, I was just having this thought yesterday. I got a haircut, and my brain started thinking, you know what? It takes me a half hour each way to get here. And I bet I could learn to cut my own hair and just look in the mirror and do it. And then I'm like, no, that's ridiculous. Why would I want to go to like school to really learn to master a haircut? I don't want to have a bad haircut and walk around with it messed up. Like, this is a stupid thought, right? And I laughed at it. And then I started thinking, well, that's exactly what people think when they say that they want to try doing their LinkedIn themselves. Why would you want to put in all that time to learn it and do it and risk doing it wrong and embarrassing yourself? And think about the clients you're losing while you're figuring out what to do. And it's very time consuming. And it's not so much just the time consuming. That's the tactical part of LinkedIn. It's really what you say in your messages that makes all the difference. And that's one of my recurring themes in my business is really success on LinkedIn comes down to the messages you say. Anybody can send out messages. Yes, you want to outsource that, but it's what you say in those messages that makes all the difference. If you send out 100 invitations and say something with one word wrong, you're going to get literally 0 responses, right? And why would you want to try to figure that out through trial and error? I've been doing this for 9 years. I've worked with 4,200 clients, and there was a lot of trial and error in the beginning, even for me. I'm not going to lie. Like, I was figuring it all out in the beginning, and we were still getting some results in the beginning, but by now we've tested by constantly tracking and testing, which is, again, not something the average person should want to do. But we do testing and tracking the messages. That's what gets you such great results on LinkedIn.
Yeah, so let's dive into the messages in just 1 minute. I do want to make just a quick point. For the most part now, when you and I work with clients, we write the messages and usually they're pretty cool with them. For the most part, I don't really get people changing it too much, but there is that client or two that they just want to say it the way they want to say it. And if that happens, usually what I'll do is I'll say, okay, listen, we'll use your messages. And if they work, because I know, kind of what the average number should be as far as the response rate, how many meetings you should be generating, all that stuff. Like, if your messages work, all right, great. But I know they won't, because I already know by the way that they wrote it, it's not going to work. But then I'm like, if they don't work, then we get to use it my way, because it's kind of what you're paying for. And then usually once you let them fail for like the first 2 weeks and they're like, well, this isn't working. I'm like, well, I kind of told you that. So now can we do it my way? Right?
Yeah, I like that. I'm the same way. And it's important that we have benchmarks. We've worked with so many different types of companies. We know where you should be. They might think their messages are so great because they're getting 1 to 2 responses, in a month or a week. But really, they could be getting a lot better than that by following messages that are proven to work.
So tell me a little bit about what must be said in the messages, or what kind of things do you need to put together in your messages if you are going to try to create these and try to have some success on LinkedIn? What are some tips you can give us?
Okay, so what works best on LinkedIn is what I call problem-based marketing. My copywriting system on LinkedIn is called BPBS. It's big problem, big solution. So really there's 2 parts to how you're going to do this. You're going to need to present a big problem and then offer them a big solution to it, right? So that's why it's BPBS. So what I mean by this is you essentially want to be asking people, do you have this problem? And you want that to be a problem that you specialize in solving, and a problem painful for them in their business. And I'll give you an example of this. So one of my clients right now is a dating coach. I want to try to use some of the B2C ones just so people see that everyone on LinkedIn in business is in business is also a consumer, right? The B2B examples are obvious, but I'll use some of the B2C ones. So this dating coach, and I always think of myself when writing the copy as if I'm your target audience, which again, I happen to be for this person, right? I'm putting it out there to the world clearly that I'm single in case and what is interested. But anyways, so if a dating coach came to me on LinkedIn and said, hey, I do dating coaching, are you interested? I would probably be like, this is LinkedIn, dude, what the heck are you doing? Let alone if the dating coach said to me something like, hey, I can, help you with your dating and, it's going to be like $500 an hour. Are you kidding me? Like, I don't even pay my doctor $500 an hour, or my personal trainer. Like that's not, I'm not interested in that. Now, if that same dating coach came to me, and this is one of the secrets too, first took a look at what I'm talking about on LinkedIn. You want to think about walking into the bar. If I walk into the bar and pitch the girl on me, it's never going to work. If I walk into the bar and see she's wearing a cross necklace and I ask her if she knows a good church around town, now we got a conversation in a common ground, right? So look at my LinkedIn and use that to your advantage in the conversation. So for example, if you looked at mine, you would see I was just at a Tony Robbins event. And you would use that to frame your pitch. And this is why you can't automate this. You've got to do this strategically with strategic partners. And if you sent me a message that said something like, Greg, I see you're at Tony Robbins. You have this amazing life. And how sad it must be, though, that you don't have anybody to share it with. And that's a problem that I can help you solve. Are you interested?
Oh, my God.
Like, literally, that would get my attention. And, and people will get paid a lot more to solve the problem than they will for offering any other sort of services. So kind of as a hidden benefit to the problem-based marketing system is it sets you up to be able to charge more, right? Because do I want to get, let's say the dating coach offered me two choices. Number one is for the next 12 weeks, we'll have a half-hour call and you can pay me $500 a session for the next 12 weeks, $6,000. And if he said, number two, I'm going to come in on Monday, I'm going to do some feng shui in your house. Way to attract some love. And it'll be $6,000 and the feng shui is going to bring that love into your life within the next 2 weeks. Like, I want the faster solution, right? So it sets you up to be able to deliver faster and less and get paid by the problem. But your marketing needs to be by the problem. So let's take a B2B example. Let's take an example of if you offer efficiency, like you help a business streamline their operations and you help the owner, not have to work 10 or 12 hours a day. Like that's very common with some of my coaching clients right now. Super valuable service, by the way. People really need that and really will buy that on LinkedIn. But if you message them and say, do you want, I do operational coaching, are you interested? You'll get nothing, crickets. If you message them instead and said, something to the effect of the problem. Are you working 12 hours a day in your business and doing parts of it that you don't really enjoy and barely getting to see your kids? Question mark, right? Or is that you? Do you have that problem? Right now, that's something that's a painful problem to me. You're tapping into that pain, right? So asking people questions. Do you have this problem? Hey, I was just talking to my other salon owner clients and they tell me they have a problem with retention. Do you have that problem? Right? In the midst of a conversation, asking them different problems allows you to keep going back to them without really, feeling like they're constantly pitching you, right? So that's the first part is the BP, the big problem. The big solution then is the way this works is the congruency part again. So if that operational time management coach pitched me and said, this is what I do, I'm an operational manager, time management coach, I'm probably not going to take the call with him, even though he sent me a good problem. But if he sent me something that said, I have experience working with other LinkedIn marketing agencies and helping them improve their efficiency and getting more done in less time, that's a big solution. That's a solution I'm interested in. I'm taking that call with that guy. Even if, and once you get me on the phone, you're halfway to the sale, right? That's the hardest part. But I'm taking that phone with that guy because of the congruency, because he says he worked with other LinkedIn marketing agencies. I want to know, what my competitors are doing. I want to know, maybe he did learn something over at one of those guys' places that could really be so valuable for me, right? So that congruency is so powerful. And I call that sniper niching. Like really at the top level, maybe that guy could work with any entrepreneur. Then we decide, well, I could work with, I've done a lot with marketing agencies. And then though, let's break that down to LinkedIn marketing agencies. And then next month we'll go after the reputation marketing agencies, assuming you have those case studies in your pocket, right? That helps you to close the deal too, when you can then show me, hey, here's another LinkedIn agency I worked with and we had success, right? That really sets up the sale from beginning to end with this problem-based marketing. Not only does it work better on LinkedIn, but it leads to more success in your sales calls. Yeah, because that's one of the number one problems I see with people who do LinkedIn lead generation. If you can get them on the phone, you have trouble closing the deal. And the reason why is you usually do a sales call where there's a lot of discovery. You have to ask all these questions to find out their problem, right? And with my system, you get their problem, you know that coming into the call right away. And you build the whole call around getting them to feel the pain of that problem and how you can have specialized in solving that problem for other people like them.
Yeah, I love that. It's very direct, it's to the point. And yeah, I'm a big proponent also of using case studies to make your point as to, why somebody would want to work with you. Because, a big question that I know both of us get is like, okay, yeah, you're this LinkedIn expert, you've got all these great results, but is it going to work for me kind of thing? It's like, well, yes, I've worked with people just like you, and this was their results. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I can see that. I get that question all the time, or people are kind of on the fence too about LinkedIn, and they're like, well, I do XYZ business. Will this work for me? I'm like, well, if people pay you money, then yes, it would work for you. Because even if you're not in a B2B kind of business, there are people that you could perhaps partner with. And those would be who you target. And you guys do joint ventures and promote each other. Or maybe you want to use LinkedIn to get PR or whatever it is. There are people on there that can take you, from where you are to where you want to be. So I also want to ask, Greg, those are some amazing tips on the messaging. If anybody has questions, I know we've mentioned that we're going to talk a lot about the messaging. So if you have questions as to how to do the messaging or anything that we've been talking about so far, make sure you let us know. Go to marketingbehindcloseddoors.com/live, and then you can type in your questions there, because you have us live now. Right. So once we're out, and you're not going to get your question answered. You can watch the replay, but you don't get to ask any questions on the replay. So you got to get it in now.
Yeah, but the one you hit on was one of the most common questions. How do I know this will work for me? How do I know these leads are going to be qualified? Is kind of what that question means all the time. And with my system, what I tell them is the leads are qualified based on the people having these problems and based on the company size. The company size means they have money. So you'll never hear the objection anymore, I can't afford it. Or if you do, it's a lie because they have money. And then it's about the problems, right? So if we go back to the example of the coach, the coach that can help any entrepreneur, and I ask him, who's your biggest success story? And he tells me it's a salon owner. And I tell him, I ask him, what was the biggest problem you solved for them? Well, I helped them improve their retention rate. It was, saved them $100,000 in a year, and they were glad to pay me $20,000 for this. And then what I tell them is, well, so if I bring you other salon owners that have a problem with their retention, are those people you can help and that you can close? Because that's who I'm going to go get you. I'm going to build our marketing around where you've already had your biggest successes.
Right. So we want to bring in Marvin. You have a great question. Let me unmute you and get you in so you can ask your question live. Just give me 1 second here.
Hi guys, how are you?
Hey Marvin, good. How are you?
Marvin.
So what's your question, Marvin? Oh wait, he unmuted again.
I feel like we're on a talk radio show.
I know. Let's see.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for all the tips, Greg. Now
You're welcome.
Too bad I'm married, but I could have used those.
Business tips and dating tips today.
So my question is, so I'm dealing with a specific client that does EB5 investments, and we're looking to target leads from the Middle East and Asia. And just,
All right.
we're doing different options of how we're going to target them, but just wanted to get your take as far as using LinkedIn to prospect these candidates.
Okay, so who do you see as the target audience? Did we already, I think we got Marvin back on mute.
Yeah, Marvin, can you unmute yourself?
Yes. Okay, so the target audience would be those with incomes between 3 million to 20 million as income earners that are looking to invest in the US and possibly qualify for the EB5 visa. And these are investors that are doing this.
Okay, so you want individual investors that have between $3 and $20 million in net worth?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so the best targeting on LinkedIn is it's job title driven, right? So you have to think about what type of person is most likely to have that kind of money. There isn't a way to target by individual income level with LinkedIn search, but you can target, what kind of people might be making that kind of money. And that's where it's going to take some testing and some tweaking. Maybe I would get to, CEOs of companies of a certain size, for example, right? Maybe 500 employees. Remember I said company size is 100,000 per person. And so that would be part of how you'd start to build out your targeting for that. And then your messaging needs to be around the problems that your investment solves. If you just message those people and say, hey, we've got an investment opportunity for you, that's like a home run swing. It's not, if you might get some, but not very many. But if you really start to identify what are the problems that those people have, maybe their problem is they don't have much saved for retirement, or maybe their problem is they're not happy with the returns they're getting on their investments. You'd really need to dig into the problem that the investment solve. The investment is what you do and what you offer. That has nothing to do with how you're going to get somebody's attention. You want to think about what's in it for them. What's the reason that they're doing this? And really go deep with it. I didn't talk about this before in BPBS, but when I design my problem-based statements for clients, every problem has 3 levels to it. There's a surface level problem. So retention was the problem, right? Then there's a financial level to the problem. How does it impact dollars? And then there's the emotional level to the problem. What does the person feel when they're having this problem? And you want to mention all those things in your LinkedIn messaging. So coming up with what are the main problems that, let's say you're going to go after CEOs in a certain industry, and then what are the problems that they have, and your solution, your investment is a means to an end to that problem. Does that make sense? I think we got him back on mute, but I think that gave him the answer he's looking for. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn as well, Marvin.
Yeah, also Marvin, there's a lot of people that say that they are investors on LinkedIn as well. So you can do searches. If you have Sales Navigator by, job title, so maybe let's say it's, I don't know, doctors, just because that's on my head. Doctors, and then that also like to invest. So they might have the keyword investor on their profile somewhere as well. We've done a few campaigns at this point now where the client was raising money, and to tell you the truth, man, those have been the best campaigns we've ran. Because normally we'll get like 10 to 20 appointments a month for people, but on those, it was like 100 every month. It was insane how responsive these people were, but they had the keyword investor, and different clients have different things going on, different types of investors. So on one of them, we got really, really granular with the type of investor. It was a specific technology type, and I didn't even know what the heck it meant. The client knew, so I was like, all right, well, there's 2,000 of those on LinkedIn. And so we went after them. He got a ton of leads. They raised the money. So you're in a really good space. If you have a good background also, I would say let them know in your messaging about your background, why they should trust you, and everything that Greg said as well about the solution of your investment. And I think you'll actually get more responses than you were prepared for. You might want to do less than 100 requests a day, probably like 25 if you get overwhelmed.
Yeah, and that's a kind of dovetailing on what Jimena was saying. You know, when they look at your credentials, you know, your profile, your recommendations, and your content, those are kind of the big three that everyone gets reviewed at. And that's part of your reputation strategy on LinkedIn. You need to have all three of those things rock solid: your profile, your recommendations. You know, your recommendations are very important. It's the only part of your LinkedIn profile that you don't write. And when someone writes your recommendation, they are publicly signing their name to that. And like, you can click on it and link over to them and see who they are. So that's like a big deal if somebody's willing to do that for you. So that's a big part of it. And then your content on LinkedIn, video content is best. It shows people that you're an expert instead of just telling them that you're an expert. If you're not posting any content on LinkedIn, that's a big reason why people may not be contacting you from LinkedIn. You need to be showing people. They want to see that you're active on LinkedIn. And there's a big opportunity in terms of content on LinkedIn too. We can talk about that if we have time today.
Oh yeah, actually I'd love to. But right now, if you're watching us online and you want to ask a question just like Marvin did, make sure that you go to marketingbehindcloseddoors.com/live, and then we can bring you on to ask your question as well. So make sure you do that. Greg, I would love to talk about the content as well, because I noticed when I started being more active with posting, and I haven't done it in a while, but I was doing it over the summer, I actually got someone who I had been contacting this dude for like 2 years. and he saw my content, and he was like, now he was finally ready to do business with me. But so it worked. I got a client out of it, which was great. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So, all right. So to understand the opportunity that's here with video content on LinkedIn right now, and video dominates every social media platform, right? If you think about Instagram and Facebook, it's all about video. Those social sites predict that Facebook will be 95% video within the next 2 years. Like, that's just a given that video's dominated every social media platform. And if you look at how every social media platform has progressed, in the early days of Facebook, for example, if you made a video, it would go out to everyone in your network. And if they liked it, it would go out to their friends. There was this organic reach. Now, in those days, you could just put up a video and you could get clients on Facebook. It was awesome, right? But they quickly reined that in, and now it's all paid advertising on Facebook. And Instagram's been through the same thing. If you follow Gary Vaynerchuk at all, he talks a lot about this. And it's how social networks progress. There's a window of opportunity when your content can really go viral, when the social site needs your content to go viral and will push it viral for you, which means you're going to get lots of exposure, lots of eyeballs, which equals clients if you do your content right. And that window is here on LinkedIn right now. You see, here's the biggest problem that LinkedIn has right now. Not very many people read the news feed on LinkedIn. A lot of people do, but it's not like Facebook. And Facebook, you read the news feed religiously. Why do you read it? Because you're interested in the stuff that's in there. On LinkedIn, the news feed is full of stuff like Jenny got a promotion and Bill's in the news and like George updated his profile. There's very little video content, right? And LinkedIn can't fully mature as an ads platform until people are reading the news feed. Once people are reading the news feed, LinkedIn will take away the viral reach and they'll just sell us ads, which is a good thing, because then we can buy the ads. The ads are no good right now because people aren't really reading the newsfeed, right? So how does LinkedIn solve this? The solution to this is when someone makes good video content, LinkedIn will push it virally. And because it serves their purpose. They want more content in the newsfeed that's good quality so that more people will start to see it and read it. Then more people will do it, then they can sell ads, right? So that's the cycle that we're in the midst of right now. And it's especially important if you market to small business owners. They're the ones that are starting to come here already in mass, because Gary Vee is their biggest advocate. He's the #1 expert or influencer for the small business marketing niche. And he's been preaching LinkedIn for 6 to 9 months now. So he's bringing them to the party. And if you were marketing to small business owners, you want to be doing content on LinkedIn. Now, you can't just do any content. You got to do content in your right ways. We can talk about that if we have time to, but there's a huge opportunity right now for your content to go viral on LinkedIn, and for you to get lots and lots of clients from content that's done right.
Yeah, I love that comment that you made about how the progression of the social networks, where that's the case in the beginning, and then it just becomes like you just have to pay for it if you want that organic reach. Right now on LinkedIn, that's a huge opportunity, you know. And Greg, I know you've had way more success than I have with LinkedIn ads, but every time I've tried to do LinkedIn ads, I spend all this money and I don't really get much in return so far. Whereas if I just do the messaging, or if I just post really engaging content, I get the right people seeing it because that's who I've targeted, or people I'm connected to, and I message them, and I know how to write the messages at this point to get them interested. I get business out of that, but with the ads, I have trouble still.
Well, the LinkedIn ads are very expensive, right? You're talking about minimum bid price of $2 a click, average click price of $5, average lead of $50. You know, on Facebook, some niches you get penny clicks. You know, $10 a lead is average in Facebook, and people make that work. But you know, where they get scared off is it $50 a lead, or $5 to $8 a click. People are like, no, that's going to work. But that's not really, you got to look at the numbers all the way through the cycle, right? What we find is the application price at the end is often the exact same as Facebook already. So that can work. But here's what really works best on LinkedIn paid ads. As I said, the news feed doesn't have the eyeballs yet in volume. You can get some success there, but that doesn't work. And if you go into LinkedIn paid ads testing, you're going to get killed because it's so expensive, right? And the way you do any paid ads on Facebook or Google or YouTube is you put 10 ads out there, right? And you lose money on 8 of them. 8 of them literally just, you wasted your money. You probably got nothing. And 2 of them win. And then you iterate on the winners, right? And you can afford to do that because it's penny or dollar clicks on Facebook, YouTube, and Google. Now, if you go into LinkedIn and try to run 10 ads, you'll get killed. So what most people try to do is they say, oh, I'm just going to run 1 or 2. And they don't happen to be the right 2, and you get killed, and then you give up, right? That doesn't mean it didn't work. So here's how you can succeed with this. LinkedIn has what's called sponsored Inmails. It's not quite paid ads. It's not an ad in the news feed. It's not like Google or Facebook. It's basically paying to send an email. And it's like a solo mail, you should think of it, or it's the same thing you do manually, Jimena, for your clients, and so do I. We send out messages manually, but we're going to pay to send those messages out. With a properly optimized campaign, we can get that price down to 20 to 30 cents per message, and that can get you in front of millions of people. Now, you still don't want to be testing your messaging. So the strategy that I recommend is that if you're tracking and split testing your messages when you start manually, doing everything we've been describing with problem-based marketing, you're testing different problems, different emotional words, and in 3 to 6 months, you'll have that really dialed in. Then that's the message you take over to sponsored InMail. And now you're not testing on your advertising dollar. You've already done your testing in the manual phase. Now you're ready to move into sponsored InMail. And you need to have a plan to move into sponsored InMail eventually, because you will start to exhaust your network on LinkedIn. Even though your network grows every time you add a new connection, eventually you'll have hit up everybody. And there won't be very many good prospects left, and right, you're going to hit a wall. You need to be ready for when you hit that wall. If you hit the wall and have no plan for paid ads, you're going to have to go into paid ads and test on your advertising dollar. You're going to get slaughtered. It's really expensive. But if you've been testing all along the way, like we do for our clients, then you're ready when you hit that wall. You move into paid advertising. And paid advertising really is the holy grail of all marketing. You want to be able to put in $1, get $2 out, and then do that consistently over and over and over again. It's like a trade.
Yeah, absolutely. Yifat said she gets between 7 to 18 connection requests a day after implementing our suggestions on her profile. She made that comment on Facebook. Awesome, thank you. So do we have any questions from the audience, or does anybody want to come up and ask their question like Marvin did just a little bit ago before we go into another topic? I just want to make sure that everyone that's here gets their questions answered. Let's see. Daniel, do you want to come on and ask a question? Okay, I'll take the silence as a no. So Greg, can you talk about the type of content that would go viral? This will be the last topic that we have time for because we do have to close out in a little bit. But
Okay.
what kind of content is the best to post on LinkedIn? Like what time, how often? Just give us a little bit of tips on that.
Sure. And so the goal of your content is to get clients, right? The goal is not to go viral. That's kind of a byproduct. I talk about that. People get excited about that. But if your video goes viral and you don't get any clients, that's not going to do you any good. So here, you're just like your messaging, your content needs to be problem-based. Now, let me give you an example of this. One of my clients is a public speaking coach. And so his content was every week he was doing a video, and you only need to do a video once a week. Remember, it's part of your reputation strategy. Just the people that are connecting with you are going to see that you're active, see your content out there. Once a week is good. It can be a 2-minute video. You just do it on your phone. And we advise our clients on what they should do in their content. But here's what he was doing. He was doing 3 tips every time, like 3 tips for public speaking, 3 tips for speaking on webinars. And it was good. It positioned him as an expert. They were good tips. You would get likes and comments from people who would say, yeah, that was cool. But where does that go? Like, if they liked your tips, that doesn't open the door to any conversation. Like, he would then try to message them and follow up with them, which you do need to do, but it wasn't going anywhere. Right now, if he changed instead, so the last video I had him do was a specific problem, a specific use case, and it said, hey, do you get nervous when you do presentations, but you just power through it? We probably all do that. But what we don't realize is that sometimes our body language is really giving us away. And the way you can tell if your body language is giving you away is if you're getting peppered with questions. If people are interrupting you in the boardroom as you're presenting, that means you're not really giving the best presentation you could. Now, if you're having that problem, I'd love to hear from you with a comment below or a direct message, and I can easily show you in one call how to solve that problem, right? So turning your content around into a specific use case, and I help them design all that. That's, I don't know that kind of use case for public speaking, but I asked them the right questions to pull that out of them, and then I wrote the copy for that message, and that crushed everyone who liked or commented. And it didn't go viral, it had like 8 comments, and those 8 people all had that problem, a problem that he's very specialized in solving. The best comments are when people say, aha, I didn't think of that, or I didn't realize that when they're interrupting me with questions, that means I'm not doing my best, right? You want to challenge them with your assumptions and with your expertise. That's how you make content that brings you clients. And those content that gets comments and likes is what makes your content go viral. I'll just give 1 minute on that because I know we're running out of time. But so here's how LinkedIn decides what goes viral. Is when you first publish content, LinkedIn's looking to see that you get 10 likes or comments on it. And they send your content out to 100 people, not even all your connections, to 100 people. Now, I'm just making up round numbers here. The numbers are always going to be different based on how much content you've done and who you are, but I'm just giving you some numbers. I'm making up the numbers to give you an example of how their algorithm works. They don't publish the numbers. But so picture this, you make a video, their algorithm thinks, who are the 100 people that liked you the most or might like this? And it shows it just to them. And out of those 100 people, if 10 people like or comment, you've met their metric. And it has to be in the first hour. If you've met their metric, then they will push the video out to all of your network. And then they're looking to see that the same 10% of people have engaged with you. And if that's happened, they will then push it out to everyone who's liked it, all of their following, and continue to go out to all of their following. So the way that you can go viral is based on the engagement you get in the first hour. So how do you do this? Well, what we do is when you first make the video, you send it out by email to 100 of your best people that are most likely to like it. And it needs to be very specific. I think you'll like this video because you're a salon owner, or you're, a sales executive in healthcare, and that's who I've made this video for, right? You send the video out by direct message on LinkedIn to get them to like and comment. By the way, some of them might see the video and be interested in doing business with you, right? So that happens. But at the same time, you're getting them to like and comment, and that's what starts to push it out virally. But all that's got to be really synchronized and happen in that first hour. The first hour is the critical window for getting your content to go viral on LinkedIn.
So is there a particular time that it might be better to post than other times, or is that something that you just should test between industries because it might be different?
Yeah, the general rule of thumb is business hours and Tuesday through Thursday. Mondays, people tend to be really swamped. They don't have time to even look at their LinkedIn. Fridays, a lot of people take off. Weekends, people are in their personal life. But you need to test based on what's working for your niche and your market. But the general rule of thumb is like the 8 to 5 window, business hours during Tuesday through Thursday.
Yeah, I know those are some really great tips that you gave. I don't think I've seen anyone doing content like that on LinkedIn. I'm not connected to the people you're working with, but yeah, if you do it that way, you're also being different. So that's also going to get a lot of attention.
Mm-hmm.
Greg, so we're going to wrap up here in just about 5 minutes, but or a little less, depending if we have any more questions. But I want to also just ask you something a little bit different. So we've given a lot of tips about LinkedIn and messaging and what you should do. And I think we've done a really great job about explaining that. But I also want to know, outside of LinkedIn, you've obviously, I know that you love personal development and you're always learning and you've read a ton of books. What would you recommend would be some really great, maybe 1 or 2 business books that everyone listening should probably read just to have more success in their business? Because lead generation and marketing, is one part of it, but you also need a whole bunch of other parts of it: mindset, sales, all of this. What do you think are maybe the top 2 that you would recommend somebody looks at?
Okay. Well, by far the book that inspired me to start my own business was The 4-Hour Work Week. Tim Ferriss. By far, I don't work a 4-hour work week. Neither does Tim Ferriss. But that is a great book on the power of entrepreneurs, the power of leveraging your time, having an online business. Those kinds of things are really important concepts if someone's just kind of starting out. If you're further along in your business, the book that I rely on every day is called The One Thing by Keller Williams. He has a focusing question, he calls it, in there, and really you just need to use and understand this question. So it's a really easy read, and I use that question every day to help me prioritize. The question is basically, what's the one thing I could do that would make everything else easier and unnecessary? What's the one thing I could do that would make everything else easier or unnecessary? And then you plug in your goal. So for example, it would be, what's the one thing I could do to help my time management client, coaching client, get more clients that would make everything else easier or unnecessary. And it just helps you focus. And what you do is you list all the things I could do. I could make content. I could send it messages. I could do this. I could do that. I could do that. And usually there's one thing that if you actually just got that working, you wouldn't need to do all the things. The big mistake that entrepreneurs make is we try to do all those things all at once, and we zigzag instead of leveraging like a domino's momentum. So that's really good. I'll also just plug my book. It's called Dare to Succeed. I did it together with Jack Canfield. And so if you want LinkedIn personal branding strategies, that's what I wrote about in that book. Of course, Jack is the author of the Chicken Soup for the Soul series of books. And it's Greig Wells, Greg with an I. So those would be 3. You asked for 2. I'll over-deliver it for you.
Extra bonus one. That's awesome. So Greg, if the viewers want to get in touch with you, get a hold of you, what's the best way for them? Where should they go contact you at?
You can find me on LinkedIn. So Greg with an I makes it easy for you to find me. If you love today's show, I'd love for you to write a recommendation. That's a great way, by the way, if you're trying to get on somebody's radar, read one of their posts and then write them a recommendation. Comment on their post, like their post. That's helping them in their business, right? People will really notice that and appreciate that. Those are all the things that I'll notice and appreciate. And for people that do that, I'm happy to accept them into my LinkedIn network. LinkedIn limits your network at 30,000 people, and I'm at 29.5 right now. So I can't just accept everyone into my network. I would love to, but anyone that makes an effort to, connect with me and follow my content, and I'm happy to add you in. We can kick somebody out and make a spot for you.
Awesome. Well, Greg, thank you so much for your time and all the amazing tips that you gave us today. And I will be sending this out as well. So if you didn't get to watch the whole hour, we'll be sending this via email. So make sure that you go to marketingbehindcloseddoors.com and then hit join so that you get these emails and these replays and any resources that we give out during the show. Thanks everybody so much for watching. And the next show will be on December 18th. With John Limbacher, who will be talking about SEO. And he's actually the one I learned SEO from, and he's got some cool stuff up his sleeve. So we'll be talking about that on the 18th, 1 week before Christmas. Bye, everyone.